Hey everybody, this is Jotham with the Manor House Bus team. Hope you guys are all doing great today. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about roads and maybe when you guys think about a road, maybe you think about like a dirt road in the backcountry, or maybe a highway, or just a street in the middle of the city. But there are a few instances in the Bible where some stories take place on a road, and probably the most well-known or popular story on a road is the story of Paul, who encounters Jesus on the road to Damascus, and that kind of kicks off his whole apostolic ministry. But another interesting passage of scripture that kind of talks about roads in a way, if you see it from a certain perspective, is in Isaiah 40. A lot of Isaiah is prophecy about the coming of the Messiah, who is Jesus. And there's a lot of just super cool things that Isaiah says that Jesus is going to do, that happens, that he said like hundreds of years before Jesus was ever born. And one of the interesting things he says about Jesus' life is he kind of prophesies about John the Baptist. If you guys remember, I talked about John the Baptist a few weeks ago, and he says something really interesting. I want you guys to kind of try to pay attention to it. So this is in Isaiah 40. I'll start from verse 3 and go to verse 4. He says, "Listen, it's the voice of someone shouting, 'Clear the way through the wilderness for the Lord. Make a straight highway through the wasteland for our God. Fill in the valleys and level the mountains and hills. Straighten the curves and smooth out the rough places. Then the glory will be revealed, and all people will see it together. The Lord has spoken.'" So that's kind of like almost exactly what John the Baptist does. Like, his whole ministry was essentially clearing the way for the coming of Jesus. But what begs the question is, why did he need to clear the way? Why did what needed to be cleared? You can have a lot of different opinions, but I think that John needed to clear distractions. I think it had been hundreds of years since, God had spoken to the Israelites before anything had happened. They've been waiting hundreds of years for the Messiah. And in those hundreds of years of waiting, it's easy to get distracted or sidetracked. And John the Baptist was kind of like redirecting them to the Messiah. And I think in our lives, like, those hills and valleys that need to be leveled are distractions. So many times we get focused on the wrong things, and it pulls us from what's actually important. And I think the enemy is like that. The enemy, if he can't crush you, he'll distract you. He'll try to keep you preoccupied with things that don't really matter. And so one of the roads, like I kind of talked about, if you maybe imagine like a dirt road or like a street in the middle of the city, sometimes I think of a highway. I have to take a highway to Toronto pretty often, and on that highway there are hundreds of cars. There's like 4 lanes, and if you're not focused, you're either going to hurt yourself or somebody else. So you need to be so focused on what you're doing. And I think, like, you need to be so zeroed in on Jesus in order to make sure that life is kind of moving in the right direction. So I think a road is kind of like it can be like a symbol for your life. Like, level out the high places that are distracting you, or like all the curves and all the turns. Like, make it straight and make it clear that Jesus is where you're going. So I'll just pull from a scripture in Hebrews 12 verse 2. It says, "Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God." And so in your guys' lives, there are going to be times where you get distracted. There are going to be times where you'll be sidetracked, and sometimes you forget God is there. But I want to encourage you guys to understand that God is always there, and many times when we're distracted, we're missing something important a lot of the time. And God is always speaking, and if we're distracted, we're not going to hear him. And many times when we're distracted, we don't even see when God is doing something right in front of us. And so, like, if you guys are on the highway of life, like, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. Like, don't focus so much on the distractions of what's going on around you, because when you keep your eyes on Jesus, that's when, you know, life kind of just starts rolling in the right direction. You have proper perspective, and you start seeing God's hand in so many other things. So yeah, that's it for me this week. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say, and I hope you guys apply it, and I will see you guys next time. So have a great rest of your week, have a great rest of your day, and take it easy.
Nothing is too dreary when you're near. Nothing is too difficult to bear. All the shadows we've been treading through, none of them are as powerful as you. You raise the valleys up high, and you make mountains low, and you become the focal point of everything we know. You're in the highs and the lows, the highs and the lows submit to you. When we find ourselves on mountain tops, let us not lose sight of the valley, 'cause temporary highs are beautiful at times, but the richest things in life are still found in you, 'cause you raise the valleys up high, and you make mountains low, and you become the focal point of everything we know. You're in the highs and the lows, the highs and the lows submit to you.
Hey guys, so that's the video for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I think that, you know, the idea of God raising the valleys and lowering the mountains, it seems kind of like odd sometimes because I think a lot of the times we really value, you know, like the intense moments in life, especially like the highs. But I think God has a way of kind of like grounding us and just giving new perspective to every season of life. So even when we're, you know, feeling like super just happy and thankful, like we're still able to kind of remain steady in, like, in that sort of euphoric feeling. Whereas when we're all the way in the valley, we also are able to like just have some perspective and just say like, okay, God, like there's beauty even here kind of thing. And I think in that God is glorified as we navigate through the highs and lows of life and just like turn to God to be, you know, the stabilizing force in all of that. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great week and that you're just able to, you know, align your perspective with God's perspective and just see him in all the highs and lows in life. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Bye.